What it really takes. Follow the yellow brick road. Stories about women masters. Follow the yellow brick road. Male shadow egos. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow. The Wizard of Oz? Well, what does the yellow brick road have to do with stories about women? Well, what if I told you the yellow brick road has to do with child trafficking? Haven't heard that one on mainstream media lately, have you? Today, I'm going to tell you more about the story from last video. I would go back and watch my father video with Jim Breyer and how I get a gift from the neighbor. And I go through that gift and I start to channel a real karate master. And that story should be liberating to any woman on this channel right now, including my stories, because we are here to truly empower you, to truly tell you that discipline is devotion to self. And against all odds with her story, against all odds with my story, which won't happen in just this video. So I would subscribe and follow. I would get on my email list immediately for the fairy ecosystem. Yes, because these aren't make-believe stories. I'm not a fake shaman, a fake yoga, a fake mystic. You'll learn in time when you start to learn a toolkit that actually has resilience, the know thyself, the past, the present, the future, to be completely self-sufficient in this moment with self-love, no matter what, no matter if everyone comes against you. That's what this channel is about. So yeah, I'm going to share a real story and how I channel now a master of karate in a Korean art form. I have to say Korean. It's not China art form mastery. Taducha, what is it again? I'm not going to have the pronounce. I don't have that in my notes right now. The actual martial arts she mastered in Korea, but that's irrelevant actually. That's like part of the cliff notes. But anyway, and then I'm going to go into a deep dive about the Wizard of Oz, which is on my website. I go through one archetypal sort of therapeutic within my family. I actually have 3 other blueprints of that. So if you'd like to hire me in to lecture, I'm original and I come from real work and real database that isn't copied and paste online all day long. Let's copy and paste. Let's just copy and paste. I'm not sure how we evolve people unless we're more concerned about the IA, which is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to reverse it right now. I'm more concerned about human intelligence, human evolution, human upgrades, because if we do not have that within the soul and the heart database, what are we actually creating on Mother Earth? So welcome to the channel. Yellow Brick Road deals with finances. And I've been talking about finances in a lot of my videos. And I have had some deep dives with my spiritual team. And so welcome. If anybody's on this channel, I also want to share that within my trauma coaching programs, and I've been having a lot of very important conversations about this. It's really a martial arts training. And the last component now that I'm adding is protection. And protection, not just physical, but spiritual. And so now I've incorporated a whole other program for myself every day, which is magical and empowering. And this is something that is not, the martial arts needs to go to the next level. And I'm going to talk about that. And so let's start right at the beginning. Let's start with my neighbor's story. I was going through the photo album of her newspaper articles and her pictures, downloading. I could feel her with me. I could feel her strength. I could feel her voice. And she obviously has known what I've had to endure in the last 5 years. And so I was now getting in all these physical movements. I was going to the park and starting to download all these movements in my body, just like I did with tap dance. You know, when I was on stage tap dancing at one point, they were like, "You sound like a black man. I'm hearing these conversations. I have these abilities." And that's what I teach you through my programs. They're not quick fixes, though. We're not a quick fix school here. And we're going to talk a lot about mastery and the importance of mastery, because you carry it on to the next life. You carry it on to the next generation. We want master leaders in every field too. So there's going to be a shout out for our business leaders. There's going to be a shout out for the people that need to run this new government, because what's happening now can't continue. We can't continue to support predators. And what I mean by that is as soon as we know that they're predators and they've done wrong, they need to be karma handled. Send them off to another planet, send them off to deal with their karma. We need to stop justifying predators' behavior. We need to stop justifying, oh, they have dementia now, or they have this. No, they betrayed us. We got to get rid of them. How are we going to get somebody in to do what needs to be done? Well, we're going to talk about that during the Wizard of Oz section. So I would say grab a notebook and pen, maybe a glass of hopefully clean water. And if you don't have clean water, I'm going to plug it right now. Go on to Multi-Pure and buy a under the kitchen sink filter, and buy a shower filter. Very different than what you're going to find at the store. Use my discount code, 5% off, 436409. That's how you support this channel. And what we're going to talk about with the secret societies that came up on my feed is what comes around goes around. So if you're constantly copying, pasting my work, somebody above is taking notes. Maybe you don't believe in that stuff. That's sad. When I walked down the hill to give my favorite neighbor back this precious photo album, he started to share more of her story. He said, when I first found it and opened it up, I cried and cried and cried. But then he started to share the album with a few other neighbors before he gave it to me. And I think that's important, because I think her story should be shared. I'm being given some really beautiful gifts from him because of this exchange. That was hers. And I know I'm going to tap into her mastery of karate, martial arts, Korean karate, martial arts. But the story goes like this. She grew up in a household. Father was an alcoholic. I can't tell you, I talk about in book 2 of Transcending Victim to Goddess. I talk about in book 2 about how the universe presents me with a group of men from AA. And I go into my theories about that as far as long-term healing. But what I will say here is we've got bars on every corner, but we don't have clean water. What are our politicians and leaders focused on? IA. I'm focused on human intelligence, human souls, human evolution. That's what I'm focused on. So, she married for a moment, never really talked about it. Years later, when she married my neighbor, many years later, 30 years, 40 years later. So, and when she divorced or parted from that person, she went immediately into self-defense, which tells me that it was probably domestic violence. You'd be surprised at how much domestic violence exists in my city. It's a problem. So that was her initiation into going into training, Korean karate training. And she worked her way up. She worked her way up. There was a drive, there was a skill set, there was a focus. And through her lineage, I'm sure it was to speak up. Because in Korean, the woman, at least back then, and my interpretation of it was second. And so she was one of the only women in the training field. Well, when she worked her way up to go to Korea to go into the tournament, which is kind of like the Karate Kid storyline, they didn't want her to win. And so they cheated. Sound familiar? Oh, you just can't get that contract because you're not going to sleep with them, or you just can't get that contract because you're not going to hurt children. Or you just going to get that contract because you have too much light. You just can't get that contract because you're a little too intimidating for us. We just can't get that contract because you have a little too much light and makes us feel uncomfortable. You just can't get that. Right? Sound familiar? Yeah. We'll bully you. I've been bullied all my life. We'll bully you. We'll get a group against you. We'll bully you. We'll put you down so far that you won't want to get up and use your voice. We'll bully you. We'll make you feel like you're nothing. Nobody wants to read this. Nobody really cares. You know what's sad about that with the group that bullied me? Is they're Black men predominantly. And I wanted to help Black men. That tells you how psychotic they are. Really. Um, and I'm not racist, and I'm not going to be racist, because when you have the experience of tap legend Jimmy Slide, you can't be. They can't take that away from me, his unconditional love, his presence, and what he gave me. And it's just a shame that they are just cockroaches. They signed the contract with the devil. That's what they prefer. They prefer working with the devil. And you might know somebody, you might have a family member, you might have a business partner. We're cleaning that out in our society right now. And it's going to become very clear who is on what side. Who's on the side of healing, who's on the side of accountability, who's on the side of redemption, who's on the side of collecting, and who's on the side of stealing. So she fought in this tournament. They cheated every way, but she won. Take that in. Pittsburgh woman, blue collar, came from very little, worked her way up, and became a martial arts in Korea master, predominantly men. Don't let anybody, I don't care how many times you've been knocked down. I don't care how many times you've been hurt physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually. Follow the Ferri Ecosystem channel. Follow my playlist. Follow my books. Follow my events. Follow my music. It will lead you past the yellow brick road. It's not going to be easy. I wish it was. I wish I could give you that magic little pill. But you know what? Discipline and devotion to self builds character and integrity that nobody can take from you. And that's what my ancestors had. They stripped them of everything, but they couldn't take their hearts and souls. And they were jealous of them, just like they're jealous of me. I'm going to talk about jealousy a lot in my videos with Agent Confusion. Agent Confusion enters book 2, which is done, and book 3. A very good archetype in regards to me understanding the devil contracts and slave ownership psychology. I'm in deep gratitude that he came into my life. We had a journey. He betrayed me in the end, but it was an assignment, and a very important assignment around the deep-rooted roots of jealousy. That is the roots of the devil. We'll get into that with the Wizard of Oz. But so she competed. At one point, my neighbor said 5, 6 men, she could take them all down, which is shocking when you see pictures. She is petite, feminine, beautiful. You think of those hard muscles, but that's not how you actually fight. She fought with the mind and knew how to use the body as a tool. She would speak up in the meetings with mostly men, that was hard to do because they didn't really value her voice. That's the story of book 2 to book 3. I go through all these tribes and situations where the narcissist leader shuns me down. I get psychic attacked. I get bullied. I get all kinds of stuff. Why? Because I'm just a pure hearted soul that wants everybody to be abundant and wants the best for a community. Well, we see that that's not a exaggeration with the Epstein files coming out and more coming out with them, right? We see the dyslexia and how we were programmed to look up to narcissists and psychopaths and support them. That has to change. You know, I gave one story. I've been doing a lot of podcast interviews and a lot of meetings, and I gave one story out about Agent Confusion. He was the first client I fired early on. And I fired because he kept coming in, complaining about his wife, complaining about his work. I was like, this is not what I do. I do medical meditations. And I was just starting to do brain protocols to rewire the brain. And you have homework. We do not sit here all day. I know we have problems, cry about them. And then the next time we come in, we're healing them, we're rewiring them. He did not want to do the homework. So I fired him. I sent him to a psychologist who is also a shaman. I said, she'll be perfect for you. I'm not your teacher. 2 months later, he asked if he could come back as a student. I said, you will be required to do homework and to upgrade. And he said, I understand. And that started the stage of my journey with Agent Confusion. So yes, you need to understand your story, cry about it, understand the psychology, but then we upgrade. We don't sit in it. If people understood how much betrayal and abandonment for people I loved happened to me over and over again, I could sit all day eating chocolate cake at the kitchen table, feeling sorry for myself. But instead, I did sit and cry for a few minutes or hours, shaking hours, definitely, because I had so much trauma, so much fear. But I did my martial arts trauma program, which empowers souls. It's an empowerment program. I'm getting a little off, but I was talking to another gentleman who interviewed me. And, you know, he has dyslexia and there are people coming out who are very successful business people who have dyslexia, and that's awesome. It's awesome stories. But all I'm saying is you can rewire that and maybe it helps you in your personal life. Maybe it helps you in another aspect of your life. Instead of having to read or work on something for 7 hours, when you rewire it, then you only have to work on it for an hour. So when I put these labels out, dyslexia, ADHD, the sacred brain programs of rewiring them enhance you. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And they enhance your soul, not just the analytical part of your mind, the IA, the soul. But with my clients, with my business partners, you have to understand and believe in something after this life. If you don't, we don't have the same vision of why we're doing what we're doing and we're building what we're building. Because I actually believe I'll be here in 100 years. Will you? You're saying, well, that's impossible. You'd be 153 years old. Exactly. I'll be here in 100 years. Will you? And what will you have created that will sustain here, or will it have to be broken down again because it wasn't serving humanity? So she fought. Now, what happened is that with a type of master martial arts schooling, when the person retires, they can't hand over that school to just anybody. You have to qualify to hand over that material. They wanted a man to have the school in Pittsburgh. And yet again, she fought for it because she was the most qualified. And she got it. And so she had this school for many years. And then she met in her 50s my neighbor, and they married. Perfect couple. Perfect timing. Now, she died pretty quickly. She got sick and died pretty quickly. And I have had experiences with her in the last couple days, a lot of experience, to be honest with you, channeling her. And I do feel like my neighbor is taught me a lot. I feel like they both have actually been a part of my healing process without knowing it. I didn't even know it. And watching him continue to grieve and heal her, because like I said in my last video, he was fully aware at his age and had waited that long to marry and took marriage very seriously and knew you don't always get an earth angel master like this. And I could tell through every conversation we walking around by the tone of his voice, by the choking up, by the words. Now, he grew up with blue collar parents, but they loved each other. That's a rare thing to hear. It's sad to say, but it's rare. You know, even there's this woman, she's a senior, very successful businesswoman who's been coming out, which is great, using her voice, great, just all the way great. Has dyslexia. I was talking about that, talking about obstacles, and very successful in business. Had a lot of obstacles as a woman. Very important for women to hear so that we can come together. We need to come together and respect each other. But one of the things in her conversation that I noted was she doesn't quite understand. Coming from a trauma background of 18 years, I would say there was really no female clients I had that had a good mother. And what I said by good, they had a narcissist or somebody completely jealous of them or dysfunctional, mentally ill. This woman, who's now a senior and talking on platforms and successful, had the one component that I think matters the most. She had a positive mother. But because she had it, she doesn't realize how rare it is, because she's a businesswoman. She's not in the healing arts. She's not in the trauma field. She's not in the mental health field. When you start pulling up stats, your roots matter. They shape you. So how did I shape out of a psychopathic mom and a father that was avoidant and serious generational traumas in both lines that I can know everything about? I became a master of trauma. I became a master of 8 sciences. I became a master of the creative arts. And the conversations recently is people are like, how can you master so many things? And I'm thinking, how can you not? I'm not a quick fix hack, 5-minute this, that. Because discipline is devotion to self. This technology of the body is a gift. And when you can't walk for 2 years like me, you don't take this gift for granted. Oh, I'm not going to eat junk food. That's abusive. Oh, I'm not going to promote going to that grocery store where everything's in plastic. That's abusive. I'm not going to drink a toxic water for myself. That's abusive. Self-love, even if nobody else around me has it for themselves or for the environment or for the community, I have it, and I'm going to continue to have it. Self-love. That's how you heal humanity. Because when you love yourself that much, if I could get leaders to understand the importance of clean water, let alone electrolyzed reduced water, maybe they'd think a little differently about IA. Maybe they wouldn't put all their energy into that. Maybe they'd put more into healing their generational traumas so they could live longer and not have to keep repeating into the next life or wherever they go or whatever they believe. The other thing that my neighbor voiced about her, which he was voicing to me, is she was unconditional love. She was a divine feminine, but if you messed with her, she was going to take you down. And I needed to hear that from him. I needed to really understand that because so many people attacked me and bullied me throughout the years. And when you are dealing with the type of violations, and so many people recently have been incredible hosts on podcasts, their words have mattered. They have fulfilled my heart in saying I'm courageous. They have no idea how I've come where I've come from, in the sense that it is brave, because it is scary to have somebody almost take out your life when you are a sweet, innocent, pure hearted soul. So if you've never had anybody try to take out your life, I'm not sure you have the equation of how to heal generational traumas. I have a sacred ego, not a masculine. But one thing I can say is that the bullying, the darkness, because here's what I've come to the conclusion is, as long as you have generational traumas, and a lot of people do and they don't know it, that demon can come inside of you and take over you. It can come into your water with 3 parasites. One of those parasites can break through the blood barrier of your brain, and you're starting thinking negative thoughts and you're craving sugar all day long and you don't know why. That's why the 3-month process of my trauma clients, I no longer did the brain rewiring and the spiritual psychology. Detox glyphosate, detox parasites, detox this, and get a new lifestyle, which you're going to have to travel with. Our leaders should be traveling with this stuff, or start changing the airports and the restaurants, please, instead of focusing on IA. Could you focus on not poisoning us 24/7 in America? Do you care about human beings? So they have to invest in a detox process, because part of their mental health issues might just be around a parasite in them. So we can delete that out. Do I still think the brain protocols are beneficial to anyone, even if they don't think they have PTSD, ADHD, childhood trauma? Absolutely. Because there's sacred holiness that's going to advance you on generational ancestral lineage, whether you're a slave or a slave owner. Absolutely. I have no question now. After all of the psychic attacks and spellings and everything I've been through, hands down, thank you, enemy. You taught me that my toolkit is it. Thank you so much for that. So I'm about human advancement. I'm also about protection, because it wasn't taught to me in any way, shape, or form. I had a client go to, so during COVID, yeah, we're getting into the COVID section. What I want to say is I looked up the school because I thought about jumping into a few classes, even though I can see I'm learning from her on the other side, which is great. Wouldn't you want to learn from an ancestor and martial arts on the other side, or painting on the other side? You can advance yourself. There's a lot of women in the school now, and that's awesome. During COVID, early on, I learned how to use a gun. You know, I did see Jim Breyer's video on this with him and his wife, which is hysterical. I mean, it's hands down funny. And I kind of had a little bit of a similar experience what I want to say about Jim Breyer, because I've come to a conclusion, is his voice is a remembrance. So I know him from a past life, and I know exactly the roles we played. It was a positive karma. That's awakening a deepness and soulness to understand now. I can navigate and see that's a good person. They got a lot of entities, got to stay away. That's a good person, but they got demons in them, got to stay away. That's good karma. It's all becoming clear at this level now. This is how you train to be masterful. And we're going to need a totally different type of programs if we're going to get out of all these old paradigms. Follow the yellow brick road. So I realized it's the voice activation. The reason why I like listening to him talk is because it's good karma and I trust him. I know his soul. And I heard, I don't listen to a lot of social media. My phone has a totally new feed, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is awesome. But I go through 5 minutes every morning where my angels pull up somebody from Facebook. I connect, that's it. Don't do anything else. And then they pull up a feed and they'll say, watch 5 minutes of this, or they'll move the video into the middle of the video to watch part of that. It's all for me to understand either a message I'm sending or what the collective is being trained on. Matthew McConaughey, I think this was probably 5 or 6 months ago. I was watching a few videos. He talked about voice recognition, and if the IA takes over that, we're in trouble. I absolutely 100% agree with him. 100% agree with him. We should be very concerned about that for a lot of reasons that I actually don't want to state here on this video. But that tells me that he's got some deeper stuff going on. Matthew McConaughey, well, I don't mention anybody for no reason. There's a connection to the state of PA from his past life. Let's just plant that seed right there. Now he can think I'm a whack that's drinking magic water, and I'm cool with that. The guns, my first teacher was a veteran. He lived off the land. So I had to drive like an hour and a half away. He's off the grid, big farm, horses, had tons of guns. Like a lot of people in the state of PA have a ton of guns. Like you really don't want to mess with the state of PA. They actually know how to use their guns. And me and my brother went up. And we started, going at it. This is a man that passed away in the last couple of years. He was a mentor to me. He was like the only father figure. He was a science teacher, and he had a student that was psychic. And he was doing different types of testing and could figure out she was psychic. And the mother said, please don't tell anybody she has this gift. So he understood I had gifts. We talked about things. He had a God experience. He had an awakening. And he actually said that one day me and my brother would do something in politics. And I laughed at him. But I've been sending out videos, and what I'm going to do with the Wizard of Oz is all about politics. So, it's interesting in a roundabout way. Maybe I'm inspiring or empowering people to step into that. But anyway, we were doing it, and I was okay. I wasn't scared, which surprised me. But my brother was like, and he's not that personality. He's not a hunter, I was just like, well, he's a colonel in a past life. It's easy as can be. It was like easy. And he has those traits. Something goes down in the state of PA. He gets on the phone call. He's got 1,000 men with guns in an hour. Like I'm not exaggerating. That's just in his programs. It just is what it is. Know your programs. Are they demons? Do you have karma to clean up? Because that devil's coming this time. We're cleaning up Mother Earth, so you can't escape it. Unless you want to go to another planet, which is fine. So then I go into a school locally, and it's all older women too, by the way. So, all older women, you know, and I wanted to learn how, because this man said, his mother was in her late 80s. She lived in a farmhouse by herself. And one day somebody broke in. She got that gun out. She started shooting it. Do you think they did anything? They ran. They ran as fast as they could. But what about psychic attacks and curses and spellings that came into America specifically during slavery, rooted in Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, of course, New Orleans, and a little bit of Knoxville, Tennessee, I believe. This different type of psychological warfare that we were not used to, that has permeated into these deals, these attacks, because generational traumas were not healed by the victims, like the slaves were not healed. So they're easier targets getting in. It's complicated business, because if you don't know somebody's soul database, you could think they're good and they're bad. You could think they're bad and you're good. All you can go by is by their actions at this moment, which is why I say, I hope we don't linger on the fact that our president is out to lunch and has betrayed us. We know he's betrayed us. Get him out. Who's going to come in? Follow the yellow brick road. We have to stop. Like, I got a couple people, a couple hosts. Everybody wants to have a trauma podcast, and that's great, but they don't know anything about trauma healing. They're traumatized. And it is what it is. I love you, but it is what it is. And you want to justify that predators have had hard lives too, and it comes from trauma. Of course it comes from trauma, but it may come from trauma from like 100,000 lives of back then sacrifice, which I know the roots of my mom's trauma comes way back. And then she's a slave owner, she's a trafficker, she's a this, or she's a that, and she's a that, and everybody enables her and everybody supports her because she is actually throwing in, because they're all traumatized on some subtle level. So she can get, her entity can get in them to attack me. And that's what this leader did. His entity can get in everybody to attack me instead of attacking the devil. Well, we're in a reverse. And I'm going to tell you, Archangel Michael is right beside me. So thank you, because I've added the last component to my whole training, and that is protection. I had something come onto my feed, a gentleman that has written a few books and was moving from science to alternative healing. And he talks about being initiated into a secret society group. He wasn't sure if it was the bad group or a good group. I've never heard of a good group. He's in a rich neighborhood, mansions. He goes into the mansion. He describes inside the house, which is very interesting for me to hear. I take in those details. They're sitting in a room, chairs, and he's in the middle. And he's thinking to himself, am I initiating in here by having to do something bad because I'm not going to do it? Because we're hearing about that, right? Well, apparently this is a good group, which is awesome for me to hear about. That means that I am on that paradigm of attracting in those people. And he sits there, he's being initiated, and they give him one sentence. And after that sentence, they said, you're going to study that for 5 years. And he's like, really? They're like, yeah. I mean, we're going to coach you within the 5 years, but you're going to study that one sentence for 5 years, and then we'll move on. That's mastery. That's understanding the long-term game. That's spiritual intelligence. That's John Horst, Harriet Tubman. That's me. So let me give you an example. I'm not going to use their phrase. I'll give you one sentence that you can study for 5 years. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Study it for 5 years. Get a coach. If you want spiritual advisement, you could come on to mine, but if you're bad karma, I'm not going to have you as a client. And I'll know within, honestly, 10 minutes. Sorry. Not taking everybody on as a client at this point. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. That's the type of training in brain rewiring and notebooks and even in this. It's not a passive read. I'm not looking for passive people to follow me. I'm looking for people that are fed up with themselves, with the people around them, or with their government and say, I'm going to love myself enough to break patterns and to continue to fight the devil through higher consciousness, through self-love, through Archangel Michael. Because when we start to see justice with bad people, oh, the tables turn. Trust me, the tables will turn. We need new divinity as judges. We need new divinity as governors. We need a divinity government. I'll get into that a little bit in a minute. Okay. I think we can get into the Wizard of Oz. If you'd like to get into the fairy ecosystem, get on my email list, youmatter108@gmail.com. Tell me who you are, where you're from, interested in music, books, events, private coaching, want to hire me in to train your team. Okay. Follow the yellow brick road. So I do a deep dive on my website, heatherannferri.com, within my family. But there are many, many other ways to interpret the Wizard of Oz within my life. The yellow road to me is gold. The gold that we see and the gold that we don't see. Dorothy originally, in the original production, had silver shoes, but in the last minute, they changed her shoes to red, which is first chakra, which is what I had to heal ancestral trafficking slavery within the American archetype. You know, I remember playing Dorothy in New York City for a promotion in front of like Lincoln Square. I had the whole costume, wig and all, and honestly, I think I was a really awful, ugly Dorothy, but the red shoes didn't fit me. So I had to wear black shoes. Well, wouldn't you know that every kid that came up, they were like, Dorothy! And then they looked at the shoes and they were like, you're not Dorothy. So funny. I love children. I was at the park doing a workout almost every day. This one park is great setup for kids, little kids playing, and I love watching little kids. And I think about their safety. I think about mother and father raising them and how we need to get mothers and fathers healthier. I think about the plastic water bottles and how much it upsets me to see mothers drinking. I think about how we could even set up a playground to be a holistic place for parents. But I'm sitting there doing workouts, and all of a sudden, the 2 year olds, the 1 year olds, they all migrate around me. I mean, they're like literally jumping on me to get up. And I think the parents are a little like, what's this woman? Because I don't have kids, like, and I'm like, oh, I work with kids. I always say that. They know who I am. And I'm actually in a martial arts position, in a squat position, in prayer position. And this like little 2 year old comes by with this little smirk. And I'm like, martial arts. And he's like, a little Buddha. And then he's like smiling at me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love little kids. And everything that I do right now is for the future of children because I've healed my inner child. It's taken so long because all of these women, all their inner childs were completely sacrificed and broken and abandoned, left. And so once you come into that full knowing, it's just, they can't take that away from you. That song, they can't take that away from you. Ba dee da dee da da ba da dee da da ba dee 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 da da. Anyway, what's interesting is in the setup of Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, that movie, there was a suicide, there was a hanging. Yeah, so that's interesting, you know. Um, Going into the characters, the Scarecrow for me is the feminine intuition, the divine feminine intuition being blocked by the shadow masculine. How dare you outsmart me? We will take some of your intelligence and we'll just copy it on our platform. We'll just siphon your energy. We cannot have you speaking on stage and imprinting to empower people to light. We will pretend that we are light, but we are really dark. The Tin Man is the divine feminine's heart healing, blocked from the chains. If I had known that this group was slave owners and trafficked my lineage, obviously I would have stayed away. But in all honesty, I learned a lot, and those skills will come into the rest of my lives moving forward. Protection. So, the lion is the divine feminine's warrior protection. Not only being able to physically fight, right? Get that gun, get that physical power, but to spiritually, mentally do as well. And that's important. I sent my one client, she did not follow my instructions. Ego. And I wanted her to go to a specific martial arts training that dealt with the fact that this is a powerful weapon if you know how to use it and you know where to use it within a second. The psychology of fight, flight, and freeze, not just the physical actions, because you can freeze up. Your quarters, things can change up when you're faced with, especially triggers from the past. And this is what hinders business people. They don't even know it. They're in a business room. All of a sudden, their voice chokes up. They don't know why. It's all interrelated. She went to another martial arts class. It did not work out. I can't say it was either side, but what was interesting about, she ended up speaking to the owner about trauma. Didn't have any education on trauma, really. And he said, my wife wakes up with nightmares and sweats. I understand PTSD, but you don't know how to rewire it. So the download I got yesterday from the Korean martial arts woman is one of the reasons why she died so abruptly is the acidity and the cortisone levels And the not having the right things to detox carried her into specific disease that took her out. Martial arts needs to understand how to shake out trauma specifically for women, but I also think men, and then build from there so that the building lasts into the next life and then into the next life, and that the building lasts into hundreds of years and not getting sick from disease. So I think that a lot of my tools would benefit martial art master schools. And so if you're one of them, let's have a Zoom conversation. The devil wants us to be traumatized. That's how it can come in one some shape or form. And that's why we need trauma healing centers in America. I don't want to run them, but I definitely have a blueprint and I definitely have a training toolkit for people that want to do that. I think it's the only way we get to a different place, to be honest with you. We can't keep putting Band-Aids on. And this isn't an insult for people who are mind coaches or this or that, but I've talked to a few lately. They got a mindset, certification in a year, which is fine. But then you start talking to them and they have so much childhood trauma and family trauma that they haven't dealt with. And I'm kind of thinking, okay. How are you, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So that's the lion. Let's go into, well, and then we go into the wizard, obviously he's the money, the green, the currency, the controller behind the scenes, the Trumpster, right? And he flies off and he's like, I don't really know. I don't really know. We have the good witch, we have the bad witch. The bad witch, the wicked witch who wants those shoes and the dog, I'll take your dog, is what this group was trying to do. They were trying to take my love because a dog is everything. It's unconditional love. If they can tear you down, if they can strip you of everything, you'll be them. You'll be bitter and blameful and shameful. But they're not disciplined. They're not devoted. They're always looking for the easy way out. And I will say slave owners, they tend to be entitled because they haven't paid a price. They're looking for the quick fix. They're not building things that sustain right now in America. Our leaders should be concerned about water and soil and food. And I could go on a whole lecture about that, but they're not. There's something spiritually missing in them. One of the oldest trees on the planet is disappearing right now, and that is sacred ancient wisdom. What was brilliant about Julius Caesar is he understood the tribe that worked with the forest, that understood the language of a forest and the trees and the protection they could provide during war. He wrote about that. And then the connection to Harriet Tubman, the trees whispering, go this way, no, don't go that way. Sleep under this rock, sleep under this tree. And then Benjamin Franklin. Oh, masters leave clues. Warriors that are battling darkness leave clues. Are you going to be the next warrior in your life to break generational curses against all odds? To know that your soul is worth it, that it will live on, that you can walk around with dignity and integrity and at peace with yourself, no matter what anyone says or thinks about you. That's freedom. That's what a lot of my ancestors had. They fought in those chains. They tried to brainwash them. They tried to belittle them. They tried to take away everything. The jealousy was deep. They were in chains, and still the jealousy was deep. Why? Because they had light. I'm going to go into that with Age of Confusion because he was transparent about some of that when we got into Franklin, Tennessee, and slavery. That's in book 2. And it's important. It's important for people to start to understand who they are because they're actually reliving and they don't know it. All this, I'm present, I'm in the moment. I'm actually present now because I know all the past. I'm present now, so I know what I'm creating for the future. But I'm present now. So many people are operating from past programs and don't even know it. Know thyself. Not everybody else. Know thyself. Takes a toolkit, a martial arts, a trauma arts training. Sign up for my fairy ecosystem at You Matter. Think about that. You Matter 108. What does 108 mean? Look it up religiously, spiritually. What does the number mean? Everything I do means something. Everything I say is directed towards something to help assist in humanity. So the Wicked Witch is the jealousy of my mom, the jealousy that seeps into all these people, the devil, the gossiping, the envy that I can't even comprehend. It is really hard to comprehend that this last group was so vicious when I actually just wanted to help their community. They complain all day long about, I don't have this, I don't have that. I wanted to use some of my tools to assist that. That's devil. That's deep-rooted hatred of divine feminine in some way, shape, or form. Mother Earth, Holy Child. And it is not my job to fix that. It is not even my job to forgive that. It is my job to heal the consequences of attacks and to protect myself and to trust that what comes around goes around, which is karma. Karma, when they started taking the teachings of that out, which wasn't a coincidence, I saw it years ago. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. So if you're around somebody that's complaining all the time, that's a virus. If you're around somebody that is envious of you, you can feel it in your gut, that's a virus. It's not your responsibility to clean it up. It is your responsibility to detach, move on, understand what it's about. It's in our society right now. If you have generational trauma in you, demonic forces, even in parasites in water, even in chemicals and food, can really influence you. I can't tell you at the end of my dad's life with all the meds, I talk about it in chat in book 2. I can't tell you how many women have told me, yeah, when my father got on these meds, he became a pervert. When my father got on these meds, he started acting and speaking. They'll do whatever they can to get you to be lower conscious. The simpler your life, the less you consume and, is better. And you don't feel deprived when you start having joy come out of you. What happens is everybody's looking at you like, why is she so happy? She's had such a hard life. Everybody's betrayed her. She's got no family. Why is she so happy? Can't fake it. I don't want to be around people that don't see my light or honor it. Boundaries, protection. So that's what that's what the bad witch is about. The good witch, the magic ball. Well, if I had a magic ball, I've already foreseen my life. I will not share that online. That's sacred to my heart. But if I had a magic ball for America right now to set out the intentions, it is very clear that 75% of our government needs to be disappeared and gone. That's 3. That's the number 3, by the way. 7, 5, 12 equals 3. 1 plus 2. And we need to do it fast. We need to have a very small government that deals with very specific things. And one of them is to protect the people and to get the finances back on track and the food and the water. Then we need to put divinity governors in place. And yes, it's kings and queens. It's a competition. It's the state that has really incredible water, great soil and food, low, everybody has finances. Your bills aren't outrageous. Get rid of all these different types of taxes that are not helping us. Low crime. I want to move to that state. Now, every state in America has beautiful qualities. That governor should know them and feature them. That's the movement I want to see in my ball. Well, what's going to happen this next election? I don't know. But if I had this magic ball, I would probably say that we need a divine feminine at the top. Somebody that's willing to just cut like a mother does to clean up the mess. You can like it, you don't like it, you can throw a tantrum. I don't care. I see that as Candace Owens. She probably doesn't want to run for president, but I see it as Candace Owens. Come back to the divine feminine mother, the original archetype of Mother Earth, also Black woman, even though she's a representation of universal now. Everything she's done, she's picked apart every tribe. She's neutral. She has her religion, but she's neutral about the boundaries of religion. Be a good person in these ways. We're cool. You do these things to children. You do this, you do that. We're not cool. We need a mother. And then we need a father. We need an energy that respects and honors her and supports her. Tucker Carlson would be a perfect person for that. Probably doesn't want that job. They don't want to be in this office, but maybe it's easier if we get people like them in it, because we're at a place where we can't keep doing this, right and left, with this group that prepares for who's going to be next. And then they put on the soap opera show. We'll put on a wig here. We can't keep doing this. The American people have been through too much. They've been through too much. We need to start healing generational traumas in America, and each state has its own imprint of that. Tucker Carlson and Candace are a yin yang, because in essence, in my opinion, and he doesn't care what might think, I'm a little woman from Pennsylvania, so who cares what I say, but he's in essence cleaning up karma from his lineage. He's become a chosen one, even if he doesn't know it, which means he's going to lose some more of his tribe that has gone to the dark side, and he can't control that. But what he can control is healing this archetype of the yin and yang, the mother and the father, the Black and the white, the woman and the man. And what they have to do is really fast. They can't play around. It's like a father that you got to cut all the, and everybody's throwing a tantrum. I don't want to go. I don't want it. And they're like, this is it. We got to change. We got to make, and we can make this change fast. And we can uplift economy fast. And we can start working for each other again as if we care about each other fast. And we can delete the right, left, and leave it to the states. Maybe one state is all gay. Maybe one state is all this. That's where the tribes used to be. And that's where you want to hang out. You're cool. You got your rules. You're good. As long as you don't hurt children, you don't hurt us. We're cool. You do your thing. They have, the virus of the devil has caused so much distraction from healing the roots of everybody's traumas to upgrade. And that's what it wants to do. It's like a spider entangling out, but it's like the wrong type of spider. It's not the divine mother. It's like this poisoned spider that's out of control. And so you need people that have had the experiences of betrayal and been prosecuted online and they have been built up to be this cut, and they know how to get a team in and go, they're demonic, get them out there, and just start small government. I don't know anybody that doesn't want a small government. We need to have governors reprogrammed and retrained again so that they want their state to be the best state. We have an incredible state here. No homeless. The income is this. Our water bills are very low. Our electricity is extremely low, if not free. Why aren't our IA people making things free if they're so advanced? Stop sending plastic water bottles to the poor as if you care when you're really poisoning them. This is the argument I had during COVID. Oh, and I have to go back to the secret society thing. I had one of the richest clients in the state of PA, as not in trauma, as a fitness coach. She couldn't do the brain work. And she was Anastasia's, one of Anastasia's slave owner torturers, among others, which was a surprise. And I learned that later on. They have all the systems nobody in the city does. That's the first thing. They got it all in their house. They're good to go, but they're not going to have it in the public gym or the public senior home or the public health center. No, they got to have all the other deals going on. They lack spirituality and understanding soul consequences. I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but when you become aware, you need to start redirecting what you're doing. I remember her when businesses were closing down in Pittsburgh. I was still working on Zoom with her, and I was keeping my mouth shut at that time. I didn't trust her. She betrayed me. I wanted to get out of having her as a private client. I was working to get other business. And I remember her saying, well, because the rich people had a meeting, of course, and they got to keep certain businesses open, of course. And she made this comment of, well, they're doing what they always do. She kind of played both sides. And I just sat there and I knew COVID was an agenda early on. I knew from the medical point of view, but I also knew from the business point of view. And at some point, she was trying to push a certain type of political idea. She was talking about where I would just say anything because I'm trying to just coach her on Zoom. And she was very psychic. They could be very psychic and yet very twisted with their psychic abilities, because they actually used to train their children differently. They used to train them in all the things that your children are not being trained in school. And one of them is medical meditations, by the way. Yeah. So basically, she was the type of person, well, we're going to help the poor by giving them this, this, and this. And I didn't say anything to her at the time, but she could read me like a book. And our last meeting, she was like, I know you think I'm some rich, blah, 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 that only cares about this, and that. I didn't say anything. And we ended. But what I'm here to say is they like to come across as if they care about the people. Giving poor people toxic water and glyphosate food isn't really empowering them. Empowering them is actually using your finances to either help them get a water system and get in the business so they can have some sort of understanding of home businesses. Because America used to be 90% entrepreneurs until the Gopal or whatever you want to call it came in and started to wipe that out with universities and all that. Or you just give them the water system so they can start to heal and think better and not be poisoned to death. But you don't do that. So I'm not impressed with all that. We're going to donate. You know, when I was at my highest in the water industry, we did have wells created in Africa. But I still think the Japanese medical device is very important for everybody right now. And you know, what's interesting is that device is not talked about online for a reason, because of the bullying. So there's underground Zoom conferences. When I talk privately to people of what this water, they're just shocked. They almost don't know how to comprehend it. That's how shocked they are. So it's not impressive anymore. The plastic has to go. And I just saw a local farm that I buy apples, and I love apples. They have an apple, you know, trees and farm, and they're using plastic in the ground. They're uneducated. The rain comes on that plastic, and now all those toxic chemicals goes into the soil, and I noticed something before I saw the videos of this recently. Just in the last couple of days. The apples were not tasting as good because I'm so in tune. I will not take any leader in this country seriously until we start addressing our food and water in a serious manner. If you cared about us, you have the income to give everybody the right filter to take out forever chemicals. And so I see that sort of contradictory, hypocritical, dyslexia, whatever you want to call it, going on. When you're aware, you're aware. And so I've dealt with that. I've seen how people justify. And we're getting to a point where we can't in America. We need divinity leaders. We need spiritually evolved. And that's not religion. That is divinity, light. Some call it Christ consciousness. The secret society, when I was listening to that video and the 5 years of that one phrase, I went through 5 years of training. I went through 5 years of training, learning every ins and outs about the slave owner, the devil, the narcissist, the psychopath, how they work in every way, shape, or form. That was my training. And it was important training to heal and close out the book of my past and the past of my ancestral lineage. It wasn't fun. I wouldn't want to do it again, but it was necessary. How I feel when I walk around right now is completely, my body feels completely different. My mind feels completely different. My soul is utterly at peace. Know thyself. Master. Once you master one thing, whether it's dance or the piano or painting, then you take it and you master another thing. How have we become, people talk and they're like, how did you master so many things? How do you not master so many things? What is going on here? And it's not about approval or I know all this. It's just about advancement. I will be here 100 years from now. Will you? It's not about, oh, I want to live a long life or I don't want to age. It's not that psychology. We have been programmed to get sick and die young. That is a devil psychology that I do not agree with. Yes, people die suddenly. Accidents happen. It can be karmic. It can be written already in their Akashic records, or it can be free choice. Did you make a free choice? Did you make a free will decision to go against what you were supposed to do in this life? Only you can decide that. So at the end, when Dorothy is with her dog, unconditional love, that starts with self. And hopefully it builds with a few people around you, friends that are unconditional love. Partnerships in business that obviously you keep boundaries and you do your thing, you do their thing, and you make sure you do it right. But there's an unconditional love and respect. That's what Tucker has with Candace through the times. You can see it. He voiced it. He voiced it against all odds where people did not want him to voice that. I actually admired that. I watched that part of this journey because so many people who I thought loved me unconditionally didn't step in because they were conditions or they were taken over by entities from the person, the predator in the family, or the predator in the company, or the predator in the community. So these subtle details of studying people matter, especially in leadership right now. And don't think a healer can't recognize that or be of value. They used to be in the board meeting rooms in ancient times. Their energy in the room mattered. I'm going to finish. This is a long video, deep video. Follow the yellow brick road. People always ask me the forgiveness question. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. When it comes to everyday things of, you stole my book. Okay, here it's back. I forgive you. Or I said something mean the other day. I'm really sorry. I forgive you. These are simple, common sense things. But when we're talking about physical violence, sexual violence, psychic attacks, when we're talking about evil, my theory, because I've been through so much, I don't even think about forgiveness. I think about healing those wounds so I can have a better life for myself and self-love. And I give that karma to Mother Earth to deal with. What comes around goes around. I used to care about predators. I used to want redemption. I used to want to share that story. I want to share the story of the Dorothy the divine feminine coming back into her currency in every shape and form. The story of the predator needs to see consequences to their actions in this time period in 2026. Eventually, the new earth should be, if you rape somebody, you're raped immediately. If you stole $1 million, you go bankrupt and you go to jail. Like, we need serious consequences to predators. Stop justifying their behavior. You're not actually helping them, and you're not helping the ecosystem of their environment or our environment. So I don't give them any energy. I cut the cords and I send them to Archangel Michael. I send them to Mother Earth. I send them to the collector. And if they throw their tantrums and keep behaving the way they're behaving, I am sure now they will go to another planet, because we have broken the karmic loops. We're breaking karmic loops. When you walk away from generational curses and generational abuses, even if your family doesn't recognize it or want to recognize it or want to be accountable for what they've condoned, you are breaking karmic loops. We do that in business. We do that in leadership. But you got to have a soul and think that souls matter in order to live that way. So that's my interpretation of that. I didn't have to forgive my mom. I healed everything. I gave her unconditional love. She screwed me over again. And I honestly, part of me was like, I should have known better. I kind of laughed a little bit because I should have known better. She didn't rewire her brain. She didn't work as hard as I did, hours after hours, to heal what she did to me. Everybody enabled her. Everybody supported her. She put demons in them. She's had a great life. Why should she have to change? I see that common thread over and over again. So my last advice is, let's not analyze how the president may have dementia. I don't care. He's betrayed this company. Done with it. How do we fix it? I'm not convinced the vice president's any better, but because they're all virus to him. Everybody that's around him is the virus to him. Believe it. So that virus has to go. And we need to set that intention collectively. We need to stay focused and set that intention while empowering people to heal, while empowering people to have new businesses, while empowering people for self-love, not to just be programmed into watching the soap opera. Get on my email list, subscribe to this channel, heatherannferri.com. Thank you so much. If you want to collaborate or bring me in as a guest speaker, I'd love to be a part of that. Obviously, I've got a lot of material to bring to the table. Thank you so much. And for those who are interested, Transcending Victim to Goddess on Amazon, this is only part 1. Part 2 gets better, even better. You got to know part 1 to get to part 2. I'll leave you with this. In this book, chapter 8, I introduce a character called Mystery Man. Those words mean more than just that energy. There's a mystery to my father that I had to unravel, not just in John Horse, but in other past lives. To understand the 5-year assignment completion, generationally, ancestrally. I remember early on when I talk about my first Dark Night of the Soul, which is in one of my other Jim Breyer. You should watch all those videos that I have up to understand the storylines, to understand your teacher, to understand the speaker, to understand the business partner, to understand me, right? When I met Mystery Man early on, I mean, this was years ago, the first chunk, my left leg, the feminine leg, was starting to fall apart. And I was kind of trying to hide it. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody in the medical field had any explanations. They were making things worse because they weren't trauma informed. Back then, somatic Shaking wasn't really even known thing. But I remember this. This is how good my memory is. He was at the store trying to find a heating pad for me. And that really wasn't it wasn't going to help me, but it was very sincere and loving. And he comes over, my legs on top, I'm sitting on the couch, and he goes, and he brings up Karate Kid. I'm both those characters in Karate Kid. I'm both of them. And I bet a lot of you are too. I'll leave you with that. Blessings.